Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Admire Sandile Jau. Now, the Russian President Vladimir Putin will not be attending the Brics summit that will be held here in South Africa, Johannesburg. This comes after the ICC has issued an arrest warrant against Putin, and they are putting pressure in South Africa or into the South African government to say, if he comes to South Africa to attend the Brics summit, he must be arrested here. And it has been difficult for the ANC, for the ANC leaders, and South Africans in general, because they issued a statement to say anyone who attempts to arrest Putin declares war against Russia. And you will know that South Africa doesn't have the capacity to fight Russia if there could be war against Russia. So no one wants to see themselves on the wrong side of Russia, especially African countries. But there has been deliberations in the ANC because they did not want themselves did not want to announce or to make an announcement on their position when it comes to what the ICC or the International Criminal Court want them to do. But we have seen this because we know the bully America is always using other countries to fight their battles. And if we take a position that will see us in the wrong side against Russia, they are not going to help us with anything. But either way, whatever they try to help South Africa with, we end up going to lose. And their mission is to crush that Brics entirely, because they want to control the economy of the world. Now, what does this mean to South Africa? It's a relief to South Africa because Putin himself has made that announcement, and at least it helps the president, the ANC, and South Africa to know and to make it clear to the world that they didn't prevent Putin from coming. He is the one who made a choice after looking into the security and trying to make sure that it protects South Africa, because they have sensed that there might be some terrorist attack because of his attendance to the Brics summit in South Africa, which means they are of the view that if he can force to come, and in person, the Americans or even Ukraine can try to take him out, upon arrival. So it won't be safe for South Africa itself. So they decided that he must not attend and is going to send his foreign minister. Now, we've also seen this during the week where the diplomats were part and parcel of that brief of Brics with other political parties in preparation for the Brics summit that will be held, I think, in August in Johannesburg. So it's a relief for South Africa. But what does this mean? It means that when the Russians looks at us, they can see that we don't have the capacity to go into war. And they don't want to create a hostile environment. And they don't want to make things difficult for South Africa, because there was once this case, I don't know whether it was with Omar al-Bashir of Sudan or something, back in the days during the time of President Zuma, where the ICC issued an arrest warrant and they knew that the man was coming to South Africa and they wanted President Zuma to arrest him. And South Africa took a position not to. So again, they were forced by the Americans to arrest Putin. Why don't the Americans send their soldiers to Russia and arrest him? They know that declaring war against Russia is not a child's play. It will be difficult for any country that declares war against Russia. We have seen this in Ukraine, because the war in Ukraine, Russia understands very well that they are not fighting Ukraine only, but the whole of NATO. They know the suppliers of Ukraine. So imagine Russia single-handedly fighting NATO, and you want to see South Africa into war with such a state. I mean, our soldiers failed to organize themselves to control lockdown, to control people who are not armed. So imagine a state where now Russians are sending missiles, they are sending their fighter jets and things like that. Something that we have, but not compared to the number that Russia does. So not to ruin the relationship that we have had, because you will know that even most of the MK soldiers or comrades were trained by Russia, even Putin himself. So Russia has been very active in supporting the struggle in South Africa. They understand South Africa, and they have supported South Africa not through speech, but putting on resources, to help fight the apartheid regime. And South Africa ended up winning, although they won through negotiations. But that resistance was funded by Russia through ammunition, and not only ammunition, but also actively training people to be soldiers to take out the apartheid government. So we come from far with Russia, especially Putin, who ended up becoming the president of Russia. So there's no way that we can arrest the very same guy who helped us to be where we are today, and he is still with us to try and help our economy to compete with that of the world. So it will be a very bad move for any president that is going to take part or who is going to lead South Africa to say, or they want to see a person like Putin arrested. We have seen the position took by DA to say the president must arrest Putin if he comes to South Africa. It means DA doesn't love South Africans, because if Russia says that anyone from anywhere who attempts or who will arrest Putin declares war against Russia, and we see number one opposition party of South Africa, a country which was helped or assisted by Russia through ammunition and training to be where it is today, they say that the country must arrest Putin. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And the people should see that it means that if one day DA comes to lead the South Africa, the state, as a political party, if one day they win and lead South Africa, it means South Africa will no longer form part of Brics. That's what it means. That is why they are trying to even convince the opposition parties of the countries that are part of Brics to take the same position. Because we see this with the AFF. The AFF says that if Putin comes, they are going to be with him from airport to the meeting and everywhere where he want to go, and take him back, escort him back to the airport. They're going to be with him. So it shows that even if the AFF could one day win the elections, national, and lead South Africa, they are going to continue to be part of BRICS. They understand what BRICS stands for. Because South Africa has been assisted in the struggle by very few countries who back then didn't even eat from South Africa. But those who were eating till today, who are still eating, they didn't support the struggle in South Africa. So we, as South Africans, we must understand these things. We must understand who assisted South Africa to be where it is, who assisted black people to fight the apartheid. And we must continue to have a strong relationship with such countries and such leaders. So South Africa cannot be forced by, the president of South Africa cannot be forced by DA to arrive into a decision that makes the state to take a wrong position when it comes to countries which use their resources and skills to help us to be where we are. Back then, when you go back 10, 15 years, you realize that appliances were very expensive because we're getting them from America. Now China is here. We all have gadgets because of China. Although we also have to start our own. Although we also have to have our own factories and industries. But the relationship of South Africa and China, it made things easy for us. This mic is from China. It's very cheap. The lights are from China. They are very cheap. Imagine buying them from America. They would be very expensive. iPhone is very expensive. It's from America. Even though some components might be designed in China, but it's from America. It's very expensive. But the other gadgets that are from China are very affordable. Most Android devices are from China. They're very affordable. So imagine ruining that relationship. It means everyone now must buy the latest iPhone, which is very expensive. So life would be difficult for a black child. So we must be careful and understand these positions politically. So because these young people who are coming, they must observe and learn so that when one day they become leaders, they don't take wrong positions. So that we understand where we come from. And we understand these relationships and the reason for them to be kept strong. So the position of South Africa when it comes to Russia and not making any decision yet until Vladimir Putin himself decides he's not going to attend has been a wise one. When it comes to Russia, Ukraine, South Africa was forced to take a side. And they did not. And we've seen the president recently going to both countries to try and mediate for peace. Because South Africa doesn't want to find itself in a position where it is going to put South Africans into vulnerability. So it is a relief, of course, but I think it's going to attend visually, which is a good thing. But it's a relief for South Africans not to make any decisions. And I think the resolution took in Nasrec to say they must not longer form part of the ICC. I think although they say they've tested, they failed, I think they must still maintain that position as the ANC because they are leading South Africa currently. Because the ICC is not doing justice in African countries. They want the head of the heads of states who do not support America, who do not support the West, to be arrested. How do you arrest a head of state and expect to continue to have a good relationship with such a country? So I think we must follow this type of politics and understand these policies of these different countries and understand the relationships that South Africa have with these countries so that we don't find ourselves supporting wrong positions took by these political parties like DA, saying we must arrest Putin. You want to start war against Russia. It's a bad move. Because if Russia says anyone who tries is war, they don't say except South Africa. They say anyone. And you see someone like Steinhuisen saying the president must arrest Putin. You can't do that as a head of state. You must check the interest of the country first before those of your funders. So it means that if DA can get power, South Africa might go to war anytime because they're going to arrest people like Putin. They're going to start war against countries like Russia. And we don't have the capacity to fight countries like Russia. Imagine South African soldiers having to fight Russia. I don't even think we have the technology to detect missiles that are approaching the country. I don't think we have such a technology. So we need to understand these relationships so that we continue to maintain them forever and create new ones with other countries so that we can grow politically and the economy can be strong again. Thank you for watching. This is Authentic Info Podcast. Those are my views when it comes to Putin deciding not to attend the Brics Summit, which will be held in South Africa in Johannesburg, I think in August. So thank you for watching Authentic Info Podcast. I'm your host, Admar Sandechok. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment, make reference to other information that will inform me when it comes to these matters. Thank you.